I know in the past, when I first started in the industry, and I was in communications,
Mhm.
we always tried to get, Sarah Silverman
Mm, mhm,
and, like, Susan Sarandon,
mhm.
and who was the 3rd guy? Um, I don't remember,
Okay,
some actor, right?
okay.
And, like, they, in the past, had been very vocal about ditching your bank and going to a credit union.
Mhm,
But a lot of the times it was because of, their hatred of banks, of big banks,
mm,
and,
mhm,
the terrible things that big banks have done to consumers.
mhm, mhm.
And that kind of gets you half of the way there, but
Yeah,
it's not necessarily an endorsement of credit unions
correct.
as it is of
A bank
the banks are bad.
alternative, right?
Yeah,
An
yeah,
alternative to a
yeah.
bank, yeah.
So we need some new celebs or some
Mhm.
influencers who are really
Yes.
talking about the benefits of credit unions and
Yep.
the positive things they do as opposed to
Mhm.
what, the negative things that banks do. But yeah, I mean, we need some influencers.
We need
Yeah,
to
how do we
start a
find
list,
an in
Tom. I'm telling you, we
Yes.
need to I'm sure if we brainstorm, we can find a list and start one at least.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's gonna be the key.
Okay. All right. We'll work on that. That'll be
Yeah,
one of our goals for 2025 is
2025.
find some
The
credit union influencers.
yes, the CU influencer list.
Well, I was going to ask you, so, you were talking about 2025, the word of
Oh,
the day
yeah.
being present,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
And, what I think of when I think of leading a smaller credit union or really any organization, of smaller size is
Mhm.
like the importance of being narrow and your focus. Like
Yeah.
that's what you and I and the small credit union committee, like we talked about this forever about
Yeah.
the importance of having a narrow focus and a strategic purpose because you
Mhm.
can't be all things to all people, right? When you're
Yes.
that small.
Yes.
Like how big of a part of your approach to leading your credit union is that? Like, do you still feel this pull between wanting to be all things to all people so that your members have fewer excuses to not use you, Like they
Mhm.
can't say, "Well, you don't have everything that Chase does or that Wells
Mhm.
Fargo does,
Mhm.
so you're not gonna be my primary financial institution."
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you do try to be that,
Mhm.
you do try to offer all those products and services, like
Mhm.
it's really hard and it reduces, all of the energy that you can put into all those other things. So, like, yeah, I mean, how much of that is sort of playing out in your thought process as
Mhm.
you think of your strategy for the credit union?
Yeah. That's a great question, Tom, because you do feel that pull sometimes but you have to make a choice, because especially being a smaller credit union because you don't have the resources, right? So even if we wanted to keep up with, the Chase Banks of the world, that is something that we absolutely could not do. So for me, as I think strategically, I personally don't think that it's a smart idea for us to go about it that way. Really, the way I think of it is, hey, let's look at our membership, um, and let's look at what our membership needs, right? Because everybody needs different things, and no, we may not be the primary financial institution for all of our members, but that doesn't mean that they don't use us for some things.
Yeah.
We try to incorporate more technology as we can, as we're able to get, more grant funding and more resources to help implement that. But at the end of the day, for me, as I think about this, it's really about catering to our membership and what the needs are of the members that we serve. Because and we're a SEC based credit union, so we still serve postal workers. Um, we're 97 years old next year, so
Okay.
almost a
Mhm.
century, right? That we've been serving postal workers. So, I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
things change, but we still have to keep our fingers on the pulse of what our particular membership needs. And that's how in my eyes, that's how we've been able to be successful and sustain all these years because we can't be everything to everybody. It's impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So when you think about the needs of your members, what are the ways that you can stand out to them, compared to other options that they have in financial
Yeah.
services? Like, do
Mhm.
you have things on your roadmap or in your strategic plan,
Mhm.
where you're like, these are the areas that we see needs from our members, and here's the things that we can do to meet those needs.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that stands out, is really around financial education for our membership. As
Okay.
I look at, delinquencies and just, how our members manage their financial lives, basically.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
there's a clear need for, um, just us to help them try and close that gap between maybe what they should be doing and what they are doing. So there's definitely room for improvement that we've seen. We want to help them narrow that gap in terms of financial education. And so that's really been the biggest area that I think we can stand out. We've been trying to do a lot of that even in the community as well. That's kind of where we've been focusing our efforts this year. We developed a financial program for our members. And so we've even taken that into the community and gone into some foster care transition homes. So we're just
Wow.
trying to start at the youth level and really kind of build that into how they view finances now and then into the future. So for
Yeah.
me, I think that's how we stand out because that's what they need.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah, I've kind of felt for a few years now that that's like the area where credit unions can really carve out like a true niche, in general, that, it's something the industry overall could do, not just necessarily smaller credit unions. Like you do have so many big banks, big credit unions, and even like non-banks, like
mhm,
Capital One. I don't know if they're considered a non-bank, but
mhm,
players like that and
mhm.
fintech and
Fintechs, yep.
yeah, all these providers, they're all competing over the same consumer, and they're all doing it in just about the same way, right?
Mhm,
I mean,
mhm,
they're all going after, consumer loans and the mortgage market and credit cards. But one thing that they're not doing, and something that is a huge need among most consumers,
mhm.
regardless of, your economic status, is
Yeah,
financial education,
absolutely.
right? Like
Mhm.
imagine if credit unions sort of position themselves as like, consumer finance schools,
Yes.
and
Mhm,
it became, and they also, I think, like another part of the strategy would be making it feel like okay and
mhm.
kind of almost cool
Yeah.
for someone to go to a credit union to learn how to better manage their finances.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
I think there is sort of that, there's sort of like it's like kind of taboo, or it's, you're sort of like, it's almost like embarrassing to go into,
Absolutely.
or to
Oh,
admit
yeah.
that you don't know something,
Yes.
that you don't know how to budget, or that you don't
Yes.
understand credit, or you don't know how to save for
Mhm.
a down payment on a house.
Yep. Mhm.
And if credit unions could not only provide that education, but also like make it sort of culturally acceptable for people
Yes.
to admit that they don't know, and
Yes.
it's actually, seen as like this person has their stuff together,
Yeah. Exactly.
because they went, oh, like, oh, they went to a credit union because they
Mhm.
wanted to learn how to manage their money better. Like,
Yes.
what a great idea. What a good decision. Like,
Mhm.
I think that is the place in my sort of dream world for the industry,
Oh my
that
gosh.
credit unions could really live and
Yes.
really stand out,
Yes.
because initially, there's not a lot of money necessarily in
No.
providing financial education, but
Mhm.
it is an opportunity to get in front of consumers. So if you think
Yes.
of it from a growth strategy standpoint, that,
Mhm.
that's a huge opportunity.
Yep.
But it
Mhm.
also just, and it's a differentiator,
Yes.
and it's also the right thing to do.
It's
There's
the
so
right
many
thing
so
to
many great
do.
reasons. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's
I
my
mean,
my grand scheme, or my grand recommendation for the industry, if anyone's
oh
listening
my
out there.
well, I mean, Tom, you always have the best ideas, but I mean, you hit the nail on so many heads, if that makes sense. But just when you talk about, the stigma and how people, like you said, there's this stigma around financial education in a lot of communities, and regardless of your economic status, I do know, like in the African American community, the historical stigma around financial education is just embedded. And so that presents a huge challenge, even to get them in the door. And so, I mean, I think that, like you said, if we could create a world where, I mean, what makes financial education cool, right? What makes it cool? I don't know the answer to that yet,
Yeah. Yeah.
but we're just kind of starting from the other end and saying, you know what? I know this may not be revenue generating for us right now, but
Mhm.
it's the right thing to do.
Mhm.
And as you look at, a aging membership, right? How do you continue the credit union legacy,
Mhm.
right? Well, you
Mhm.
have to
Mhm.
bring in young members, and those members need financial education. Even the older ones do too, as they look towards retirement and things like that. So, I mean, I just think there's so much opportunity in that space to, try to increase growth in the credit union and really make these credit unions thrive. So there's so much
Yeah.
opportunity there. Yeah. It,
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I mean, I try to think of like analogs or like
mhm,
comparisons. Like, how can you make financial education cool?
yeah.
Like, so what about like a gym membership, right? Like, if
Mhm,
somebody tells you that they're a member of a gym
yeah.
and they go all the time and they're getting fit and healthy or
Mhm,
whatever,
mhm.
and they start to like make progress and they're looking healthier. Like they're proud of that. They're
Yeah,
really happy to share that, right? People like to
yeah.
talk about how well they're doing.
Mhm.
Maybe there's something similar in the credit union space. I don't know how you could like physically, tangibly represent that you're like improving your finances,
Yeah,
or your
yeah,
financial health. There
yeah.
must be way. Uh,
Oh,
we
I
need
mean,
some.
testimonial videos or things like that. I know we have a couple from our members. We gave away a scholarship. This is our second year doing that, and the aunt of the person who won the scholarship, she came in and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I love the credit union. I remember my credit was so bad, and I came in, and the credit union worked with me, and they helped me get my credit back on track, and then I was able to buy a car." I mean, it was such a great testimonial of what we do, and she was so excited. And so I just think we need to just, shout all of those from the mountaintops and just make them go viral, and,
Yes.
have an influencer,
Yeah,
just
like Deborah Fears.
yeah. We could have a credit union influencer. I've always said that because we
Mm,
need somebody to sing our praises. We all know that credit unions are not great at doing that because we're too busy with our other 16 hats, right? So
yeah,
if we just
yeah,
have an influencer to just shout that for us and let people
mm,
know, that could be a way to start it. I don't know.
yeah. No, I think influencers. I think that's a great strategy. Like,
Mhm,
I know in the past when I first started in the industry, and I was in communications,
mhm,
we always tried to get Sarah Silverman
mhm,
and like Susan Sarandon,
mhm.
and who was the third guy? Um, I don't remember.
Okay.
Some actor, right?
Okay.
And like they in the past had been very vocal about ditching your bank and going to a credit union.
Mhm.
But a lot of the times it was because of their hatred of banks, of big banks,
Mm,
and
mhm,
the terrible things that big banks have done to consumers.
mhm, mhm.
And that kind of gets you half of the way there, but
Yeah,
it's not necessarily an endorsement of credit unions
correct.
as it is of
A bank
the banks are
alternative,
bad.
right?
Yeah,
An
yeah,
alternative to a
yeah.
bank, yeah.
So we need some new celebs or some
Mhm,
influencers who are really
yes.
talking about the benefits of credit unions and
Yep.
the positive things they do as opposed to
Mhm.
what, the negative things that banks do. But yeah, I mean, we need some influencers.
We need
Yeah,
to
how do
start
we
a
find
list,
an in
Tom, I'm telling you, we
Yes.
need to I'm sure if we brainstorm, we can find a list and start one at least.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's gonna be the key.
Okay. All right. We'll work on that. That'll be
Yeah,
one of our goals for 2025 is
2025.
find some
The
credit union influencers.
Yes, the CU influencer list. I
Right,
mean,
okay.
you know,
All right. So gosh, I don't know how we got down this rabbit
I don't
hole.
know.
Okay, I gotta ask you, as
Okay.
the vice chair of the Small Credit Union Committee, like, how are things going on the committee? And
Yeah.
what are the big plans for the year ahead for the
Oh
group?
gosh. Well, I will certainly start by saying we miss you. Because, and just
I miss you
because
guys. I miss you guys too.
I know your passion is so evident for small credit unions. And just, it just radiated in everything that you did. That said, Rich is doing an awesome job. He is having some different ideas to take into the future for the committee. And so it's been great working with him. I think in terms of the committee, we have a really cool project that we're working on. And if I can give a shout out to that project, it's
Yeah,
basically creating org charts. How many times are we thinking about our credit unions and how do we strategically move our talent around, right? And create just a more efficient organization, or maybe you're trying to expand your organization. And so it's like, why don't we just ask people for their org charts? Duh. You know what I mean? Something so simple that we think is going to make a huge impact for the industry. So we're
yeah,
just asking people, hey, you know what? Simple ask, just submit your org chart. And so, the if you go out to the Small Credit Union website and on America's Credit Union, you can get the link, and then you just basically upload your org chart, and we'll share
hmm
that with the industry. So that's something big that we've been working on. Of course, we've been working on talking to the regulators about just different challenges that we're seeing in small credit unions and how they may be able to help alleviate some of those challenges that credit unions are facing. So, a lot of the same ideas, but then some fresh stuff too. And so we're excited to move into the next year, and I think it's going to be fun. But things are going really well. We just had our Small Credit Union Conference
yeah,
in Charlotte.
yeah. I saw lots of pictures. I know Scott Butterfield was there too,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I heard that was awesome. Um, and the conference in itself was great. We sold out. And so we've already got a date for next year. It's going to be in Seattle, I think. Hope I'm
Yeah.
not. Yes, in Seattle. And
Okay.
so it should be really a really good time. So hopefully people will come out. Always great panelists and a lot to learn. And the nice thing about it is you're with small credit union leaders, right?
Yeah.
So, as opposed to trying to seek them out at other conferences, this is a conference for small credit union leaders, specifically for. So all of the agenda, all of the panels, everything is geared towards what you need as a small credit union leader. So that's my
Yeah.
spiel.
Oh,
Yes.
love it. Absolutely love it.
Yes.
And I'm actually hoping to make it to one of the conferences next year.
Oh, good.
Because Scott is Scott lives in Seattle.
Hmm.
I think he'll be there, whether he's speaking or just sort of attending.
Okay.
And then there's also one, I think, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this,
Uh-oh.
I still have some inside
Some
information,
some
but and
connects.
so maybe I'll ask Rich if it's okay to say this, and if it isn't, we'll bleep it out.
Okay.
But there's supposed to be one in Kansas City, in partnership with the
Okay.
Cornerstone Credit Union
Yes,
League.
I
Like,
think I heard about that. Yes.
yeah, maybe later in the year next year, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
hoping to be at that one.
Oh,
But
good.
I'll also be at GAC, and
Okay.
I'm
Great.
planning to
That's
attend the Small
fantastic.
Credit Union Roundtable. I'm not gonna
Okay.
like sit at a table probably. I'll probably just stand
Ah,
in the back because I don't want to distract,
you come
from
in with your
Rich.
shades, Tom, and like
Exactly. I need a disguise. That's what it is. I
yeah,
need a disguise.
yeah. Oh,
But
good.
I'm
I'm
really
so
looking
glad you'll
forward
be
to it.
there.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And it'll be nice to be there and just be a witness and be sort of a spectator,
Yeah.
like it was always fun hosting the event and facilitating the session,
Yeah.
but sometimes I just like to learn and sit back and kind of take things in, and so it'll be fun
Yeah.
to experience the roundtable that way. Actually,
Agreed.
going back to my original roots, because the first time I ever attended the roundtable, I was covering it for Credit Union Magazine.
Ah, oh,
And
wow.
so yeah, so going back to you know, full circle, I guess.
No, that's amazing, and, just to do that and look at it from the outside, it gives you a different perspective, and I mean, I'm glad that you're gonna be able to attend that. It should be
Yeah,
fun. Yeah, it should
yeah,
be fun. I'm
yeah.
looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too, me
Yeah,
too.
yeah, and you'll be
Okay, so
happy to know that Rich brings the same passion to the committee as you did, so, um,
yeah, I know that for sure.
yeah, he does.
I I worked with Rich on a small credit union conference probably like 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay,
I think it was 2019, 2019 or
yeah,
2020. No, I'm sorry. It was 2022 because it was after
okay,
sort of the pandemic kind of
okay,
wound
okay.
down. And really got to know him there. And he
Mhm,
invited me when he was working for the Go West Credit Union Association. He invited me to kind of participate in a small credit union roundtable they were doing in Spokane.
mhm,
And I really got to know him. And then he, of course, started working for CUNA
yeah,
for a couple of years, and so we got to get close that way. And I was so happy when they named him into that role because I could tell that he really cared,
yeah,
and that he really understood the issues.
mhm,
And so, I'm happy to share that like we've had a lot of great conversations, and I've tried to impart, any institutional knowledge that I have,
yeah,
and be a resource for him. But I also think that, similar to any role in any organization, whether you're CEO on down, like it's good to have a fresh perspective and
yeah,
new ideas and new
yeah,
energy. And I'm so glad that he's bringing that because,
yes,
that's what y'all need. Like you need those creative solutions to
yeah,
those big challenges. And
yes,
I'm fully confident that he is going to give it his all and help you guys out in meaningful ways. So I'm really glad that
wonderful.
he's with y'all.
Yes, same, same.
But I do miss you. I do miss everyone on the committee.
I
Yeah.
know, for sure. So I'll be looking forward to seeing you. I think I'll be at GAC as well, so
Okay. Nice.
yeah.
Nice. You and your whole board and your whole team, right? Yeah.
I'm working on that, we'll see.
Yes.
We'll see.
Okay. So last question.
Okay.
So one thing that I like to ask is, how you feel about the industry overall.
Mhm,
So what are your biggest concerns
mhm,
about the credit union industry first?
mhm.
And then what is the thing that you're most excited about for the industry moving forward?
Ooh, okay. So you would start with the concerns, because
Yeah, because we gotta end it on a positive note,
oh
right?
god, that is true, that is true.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna be honestly transparent. There are so many concerns. There really are because, I mean, we see the industry shrinking, well, from a credit union perspective, maybe not from a member perspective, but, you look at things like, cybersecurity, that's huge, for all credit unions of all sizes. I'm hearing where, hackers have infiltrated member accounts like almost a week once a week. So it's
Crazy.
terrifying to think, what do you do? Even when you have insurance, there's still that reputation risk there. I mean, that's huge. Then, of course, you look at technology. That's another one because again, technology keeps moving, and you can't really keep up as a small credit union. And I'm just going to speak from a small credit union perspective, because you don't have the resources, um, financially or physically, to move
Yep.
those things. Um, you look at the aging membership. A lot of smaller credit unions do have aging membership members, and how do you get those younger members in when you can't get the technology that maybe they're looking for? So there's that. There is, oh gosh, when you talk about succession planning, right? A lot of the CEOs and leaders of these small credit unions, they've been around for years. And as they see the industry changing, all these regulations and new things and new challenges that they have to face, or maybe they're just ready to move into the next phase of their lives because they're at retirement age. They don't have anything set up. And so now you have these credit unions merging. I think I heard something like 49 or almost 50 credit unions merging this year already, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's scary. Especially, I still have some time left in my career, and I just think ahead. I'm being honest, like, what is the industry gonna look like in 20 years? You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
all of those things kind of keep me up at night, and just the talent, trying to make sure that you have, particularly as a small credit union, I think the skill set that is needed today is different than it may have been before, because you
Yeah.
need people who are really agile and can kind of wear multiple hats and pivot. And,
Mm,
maybe what a member services rep did, 10 years ago may look different today,
mhm,
because
mhm.
there's different components that you have to add into the credit union. So just
Yeah.
trying to look at talent and, how do we pay people enough? And then the rising
Totally.
cost of healthcare. And then, I mean, the list honestly goes on and on and on. Um, a lot of concerns. A lot of concerns.
Okay. Yep.
But
Yep.
that said, to answer the second part of your question, I think that the reason why I'm still in this industry is because I know that there's so much good that we can do as an industry. And there's so much good that we have done, and there's so much opportunity for us to help people.
Mm,
And so for me, it's really the foundation, looking at the foundation that this industry was built on,
mhm.
and really trying to preserve the legacy of that, and knowing that there is opportunity and space to do that. We just, as you mentioned earlier, you talk about creative solutions, and I think, collaboration is going to be a huge key as the industry moves forward.
Right.
So I think just keeping those things in mind, that's what keeps me going, because I know that there is so much opportunity for us to continue helping and serving our members, and it's the right thing to do. Like you said earlier, it's the right thing to do, and it feels good, and it feels like, if you talk about work life integration, that's the part that, you know that I love to integrate, just
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
good stuff that we do.
Yeah. I mean, it's so very well said. So thank you for sharing that. I mean, the mission is definitely what I think keeps the industry going. Like I remember 10 years ago. So I've been in the industry since 2013.
Okay.
Is that right? Yeah, 2014. Okay, so
Okay.
about 10, almost 11 years.
Mhm.
And I remember going to one of like the first big conferences, and somebody got on stage, like a keynote speaker got on
Mhm.
stage, and
Mhm.
they showed pictures of like Kodak and like taxi cabs and all these industries that like went away
Mhm.
because some disruptor came in and reorganized how, that industry operated. And they were basically saying, are credit unions going to suffer the same fate as some of these big companies and these big
Mhm.
industries?
Mhm.
And 11 years later, yes, we are seeing a lot of consolidation among smaller credit unions because there is a greater emphasis on technology. And beyond the technology, some of the things that you hit on, like the compliance burden and the regulatory burden, has grown so massively,
Mhm.
that the cost of doing business is just so high. And so it makes
Mhm.
it harder for the smaller and financial institutions to stay open. That's
Yeah.
not something that's unique to credit unions. That's something that happens in healthcare. That's something that happens in manufacturing. I mean,
Yeah.
across all sectors and industries, you see consolidation of the smaller actors and
Yeah.
more conglomeration and more amassing of resources at the bigger institutions. So that's not a credit union specific thing.
Mhm.
Um, Yet there are still thousands upon thousands of small credit unions who are still growing and
Mm,
who are still doing really good work and who, in my estimation, will be around,
yeah.
for the next 5, 10, 15 years, no matter
Mhm.
how many sort of scary stories that we can tell about disruption and all that stuff.
Yes.
And the reason for that, in my opinion, is because they have that mission of helping people
Yes.
who, without them, might not have access to other financial institutions, who would
Mhm.
not have help from other organizations and other people.
Mhm.
So there is a need for credit unions, for smaller credit unions, and there
Okay.
will be a need for smaller
Mhm.
credit unions and credit unions in general
Yes.
into the future. And so, to
Mhm.
anyone who says that we're going to suffer the same fate as Kodak and all these other, you know,
No.
companies, it's just not going to happen. It's
No.
not going to happen. So, how do we continue to provide support and help to those credit unions that are doing really great work in their communities, that are helping people in meaningful ways, like you were saying,
Mhm.
and that really deserve our support
Yeah.
and our help. So, I
Yeah.
think. I love finishing on a positive note, and
Yes.
thank you for sharing your belief in what makes credit unions special. And thanks
Absolutely.
for taking the time. We try to keep these short, but you and I never have short
I
conversations.
know. I know. I
But
figured it wouldn't be.
Deborah Fears, President and CEO of Chicago Post Office Employees Credit Union. You are a rock star, and I'm honored to be your friend and
Aw.
your colleague. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Tom. Same to you. Honored to be your friend as well. And these conversations